talk about Israel now and also what it means for 2024 in immigration policy. There's a lot going on here, especially as it relates to the immigration situation and Donald Trump. Those go hand in hand for sure. President Trump vowed on Monday that if he is reelected, there will be a radical change in who we allow into our country. So here's the headline. Trump rejects accepting Gaza refugees. There it is right there. He calls for an ideological screening for immigrants. Here's what the president had to say.
Some very, very rough people come out of those areas. They want to blow up our country. We aren't bringing in anyone from Gaza, Syria, Somalia, Yemen, or Libya, or anywhere else that threatens our security. Next, we'll implement strong ideological screening of all immigrants to the United States. No longer will we allow dangerous lunatics, haters, bigots, and maniacs to get residency in our country. We're not going to let them stay here. We're not going to let them. We're going to have the largest deportation effort in history.
Well, let's get more on this with Victoria Coates, the former Deputy National Security Advisor under President Trump, now with the Heritage Foundation. Victoria, thanks for being here. Ideological screening. The folks over at MSNBC and CNN are probably going apoplectic at this point. What are we supposed to make of what he's talking about there? Because he is definitely onto something as it relates to we don't want crazy people trying to destroy America from within in this country.
Well, David, Dr. Gina, good to be with you. Yeah, I think the sort of fantasy that the United States should be the refuge for these refugees from particularly Gaza is just utterly misguided. You know, the neighboring countries of Jordan and Egypt have refused to take any refugees from Gaza, even the women and children. And I think that's pretty telling because they know that the savage terrorists that carried out the attacks on Israel on October the 7th didn't get that way by accident. You don't get that savage on your own. You need to be taught it. So, these children are a danger, the women are a danger, and certainly the men are a danger. And President Trump is 100% correct. If they have to go somewhere, they need to go somewhere in the region. They should not be coming to the United States.
But what about the people that are already here that pose a threat? We know that people have gotten across whatever little tiny measures Joe Biden has, right, that are probably pretty insignificant and non-impactful. So what about the terrorist threats that are already here in the country? What will he do about them?
It's a terrible problem, and we need an all of law enforcement effort to locate these people because they're showing us that they're here. These protests that we're seeing, mostly on college campuses, and I found your verse from 2 Timothy very interesting along those lines. Folks who are looking for false teachers. I mean, we saw it in Washington last night. George Washington University, named for our founding father, was projecting pro-Hamas gigantic slogans onto their library. These people, as I said, they're telling us that they're here. They're showing themselves. And then you get violent riots in Brooklyn. So we know this is happening. And we know that their sort of Iranian taskmasters, for want of a better word, are encouraging them to attack. And we have to always remember that if Israel's the little Satan, then we are the big Satan. And, they might start with Israel, but it's not going to end there.
Well, Victoria, I'm glad you mentioned that because indeed, a lot of your work, well, you did so much great work while you were there at as a former Deputy National Security Officer. But what's interesting here is that when it comes to Iran, I know you were very involved in that, especially as it relates to trying to kind of crack down on Iran. But former President Obama did the exact opposite with the Iran nuclear deal, and it led to economic sanctions that were lifted and billions of dollars into their coffers. Talk to me a little bit about the damage Obama did, because everybody's looking at Biden, which of course is the case now, but this started a while back.
Oh, it did. And Obama came into office determined that he could domesticate the regime in Tehran, that he could somehow make them a partner to the United States. And very much in that calculus was the determination that they would deliberately weaken Israel to create what they considered to be a balance of power in the region and a new paradigm that would feature the Iranians. And so that's why they were so determined to get to the first nuclear deal in 2015. And then we saw what happened. We saw the billions of dollars flow into Tehran, and we saw them then enriching and empowering their terrorist proxies from Syria to Lebanon to Iraq. This is when we basically lost Iraq for good to the Iranians. And so that's what they did with the money. So when we came in, we decided to cut it off, both to the Palestinians and to the Iranians. And what did we see? We saw a reduction in terrorist violence. And when Biden came in, it's really the third Obama term, and they turned all of those spigots back on. They stopped enforcing the sanctions on Iran. They turned the funding back on to the Palestinians, and we got October 7th. It's actually a pretty simple development.
Well, we really appreciate it, Victoria. Thanks for being here. Great
you.
insight, and thanks for your service to the country, for sure.